Hey everyone, John here! And for the last 12 months, Nintendo have shipped 12 games. Basically a game every month, which is very impressive for the last year of a console. But then you look at the games that they've shipped, and only 2 of them have been done internally. Super Mario Party Jamboree by Nintendo Cube, and Mario vs. Donkey Kong by NST, Nintendo Software Technology. Everything else was in collaboration with a third party. And a very common thing they do is they don't reveal this until it's either looked up in the preload, the legal information for preload, or it's data mined from a demo or data mined from the game itself. It's very uncommon that they actually tell you who is making these games until you finish it and then hit credits, which is very odd. No other development company really works this way. If you look at a state of play, the Naughty Dog logo comes up and you say, hold on to your butts, fellas, we're gonna go for a ride now. There's a lot of power behind the name of a development studio. We know their legacy. There's people behind these games. It makes things feel more personal when you know exactly who is making it. And I think most other publishers out there use that power to their advantage. Microsoft will say, like, this is a Ninja Theory game. This is a Halo Studios game. I was about to say 343. Halo Studios. They know the power behind these names. Nintendo, though, I think in their minds, the power of Nintendo is the name Nintendo, and they want everything to be encompassed as Nintendo. So let's just look over what has actually been shipped in the last 12 months, and what was made by who, and why I think some of these undescript terms of who made them are bizarre. So let's start off with this one here, Super Mario RPG. Leading up until launch, there was a lot of confusion. Is Square Enix making this game because they're responsible for the original? And it turns out, no. It was Art Piazza, who are a fantastic team. They made the Dragon Quest DS remakes. And if you've played them, they're some of the best games of all time. Dragon Quest V specifically on DS is potentially the best RPG. And to have the developer of the best RPG on a remake of one of the most beloved RPGs should be a major selling point. That should be a big deal. You should be able to say this comes from the creators of Dragon Quest V DS, and a small niche will then spread the word of mouth of how good that game is and why you should be excited and have trust in this remake. But instead, no, it doesn't even say. There's nothing on the box. There's no Nintendo logo. There's no Art Piazza logo. You can look on the back and you can see there's a trademark for Nintendo and Square, but no actual recognition for the developers themselves. And then here's another one. Another code recollection. What's special about this is the original developers, Sing, who are also not credited very well for the original Another Code. They went bankrupt after Hotel Dusk and Another Code, and never to be seen again. We thought this IP would just fade into obscurity. However, some developers from Sing were hired by Arc System Works, who made this version of the game. But again, no logo. The only way that we found out was that there was a demo, and data mined in the demo, you could find Arc System Works' name. Now, I do believe that one of the lead developers of this game did tweet about it a bit before launch, but I'm pretty sure we found out first through a data mine, which is odd. And another pretty cool one is Mario and Luigi Brothership. So this was found out through a preload. People looked at the legal information on the preload and they found out who was registered in the copyright, and it was a studio called Acquire. You may not be all too familiar with their name, but you will be familiar with their output if you're into RPGs. So I'm going to hold up this box here. It may say Square Enix at the bottom, the publisher, but on the back, in a very small print, you will see developed by Acquire. And they made Octopath Traveler 1 and 2. And 2 specifically is one of the best RPGs of the whole generation. Very underappreciated, but it's a masterpiece. And so to have the developers of Octopath Traveler 2 working on Mario and Luigi Brothership alongside staff from Alpha Dream is a massive, massive deal. What better way to instill confidence in your game than to say that this is being made by the people who made one of the best RPGs that we've had on the Switch? They are working on Mario and Luigi. I'd be shouting that from the rooftops, but instead it's just that encompassed Nintendo branding. to their credit, they did say that some Alpha Dream staff are working on this game, so I guess that's their way of giving a bit of, hope in the development, but Acquire's so cool. Like, that's such a cool thing. Now, this is a very weird one. Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, you look at it, the moment it was revealed, you look at it and you say, of course this is being done by Grezzo. It looks exactly like Link's Awakening. There's no doubt that this is being done by Grezzo, so why have any mystery surrounding it at all? And we went a few months, no developer name was mentioned. To their credit, though, they did developer roundtable where they had some staff from Grezzo. They refer to them by name, Grezzo. So there was credit here. It's odd that it wasn't like in a press release or something, but they do this with their own games. I remember Mario Strikers Battle League Football also didn't have Next Level Games as the known developer up until the very end, despite them being the ones who herald this series and also being an actual Nintendo studio now. It's odd. It's very odd. Emio the Smiling Man Famicom Detective Club was also quite similar. That's clearly done by Majors. It looks just like the other two remakes, but we didn't find out until the developer interviews, right before release, that it's done by Majors. There's a lot to be said for developer faith, and I think Tantalus have definitely shown that they're very capable over the years. They're responsible for Twilight Princess HD and more recently Skyward Sword HD. And they did a really good job with both of those. Just great texture redos, a frame rate bump for Skyward Sword, lots of quality of life improvements. And so it's kind of odd, with Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, they didn't reveal a single thing. That was revealed to us when reviewers hit credits and then put a story out saying, oh, by the way, this is done by Tantalus, who are a really good team, who've worked with Nintendo in the past, but no, they can't tell you beforehand. You got to figure that out. And before launch, I was kind of worried that like Grezzo was spending a few years working on this game. I thought it'd be like a waste of resources for the Zelda studio, the 2D Zelda studio. So there's a bit of panic about who was making this, and like Tantalus are a good fit for it. They are known for remasters rather than original works, so I think that would have given me a lot more confidence in the future of their software pipeline to have known that earlier. But no, they didn't tell us at all. Another one, Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. That's done by Indie Zero, which I think you can probably tell because it's the same studio who did NES Remix 1 and 2. But yeah, just the Nintendo brand. And I think there's only really two more. There's Endless Ocean Luminous, which was done by Eureka, which obviously they did the other Endless Ocean games, and they actually revealed that in the Partner Direct. So I think that was more of a, this isn't technically Nintendo, despite us owning the IP and publishing the game, and it being a Nintendo game. And there's also Princess Peach Showtime, which was done by Goodfeel. And I know some people maybe have less of a great impression of Goodfeel after Yoshi's Crafted World, but this is done by the guys who made Yoshi's Woolly World, one of the best Yoshi games ever made, ever crafted, may I say, ever walled. And again, this was another one where there was a lot of speculation about who is making this game. Is it Next Level Games, a lot of people said. No, it wasn't. It was Goodfeel in the end. They did a pretty good job with it. They've definitely earned their moniker, though. They've been working with Nintendo for a long time. They did Wario Land, The Shake Dimension. They did Kirby's Epic Yarn. They've been roaming these blocks for a while. I don't think they really deserve to have their name hidden. I think the only real other game this year that they've done is Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door by Intelligent Systems, who are not a Nintendo studio, despite having worked with them since the very beginning, since the NES. They are not owned by Nintendo. They can make games for PlayStation if they want to. They've just never wanted to. And yeah, they made Paper Mario. There's no shock about that. Of course they did. Nothing really to hide there. What's interesting about all of this, though, is Nintendo occasionally do reveal the development studio. With every Monolith Soft game, which, by the way, Monolith Soft are a fully owned Nintendo studio. They could come under the Nintendo brand, but every time there's a Xenoblade announcement, Monolith Soft, their logo, is one of the first things to appear in that trailer. That does not happen for Next Level Games. That does not happen for Retro Studios. The NST logo does not appear when you boot up F-Zero 99. I don't quite know the distinction. Like, maybe Monolith Soft's styling is a bit too different to general Nintendo that they want to make that divide between Nintendo and Monolith Soft? I don't really know, but that is one of the only times you will see a Nintendo actually acknowledge a different studio is making a Nintendo IP. And when that happens, you get a pretty great reaction. Let's just go through a few reactions.
Yeah, I'm floored right now.
Why?
I'm floored. That was the greatest looking Mario.
Yes!
Here we go! That Monolith! Oh, if this is a new Xenoblade.
It's Nintendo. What do you think they're gonna show us?
I don't know.
Oh!
Oh!
See, that is the power of a logo. When Retro Studios are finally done with Metroid Prime 4 and they go on to their next game, you can reveal that game with a logo to begin with. People will freak out just knowing that Retro Studios did this. You can do that with Next Level Games. You can reveal Luigi's Mansion 4 with a Next Level Games logo. We know what that means. We know what they do. We've been around the block for a while. That is exciting in its own. It just instills confidence in what they're making. It makes you kind of prepared for the quality that they are going to deliver. Now, I know that there's going to be some comments saying that they don't reveal the developer because people online are very toxic and they will harass the development team because they know of what they've done in the past. And we've seen that fairly recently with Bloober Team, with Silent Hill 2. And they delivered. It can happen for sure. But also, this is just the way the industry works, that nobody else hides who is making a game. Microsoft don't do this. PlayStation don't do this. Bandai Namco don't do this. Sega don't do this. We always know who is responsible for a game. Maybe not in all cases, but the vast majority, we always know. So I don't quite buy that Nintendo's doing this to protect anybody. I think they just want everything to be known as Nintendo. Everything they do is by them, despite them only actually making 2 games this year. Out of the 12 that we've talked about, only 2 of them are actually in Nintendo Studios, and I find that quite funny. But I do want this to be a thing for the future. People generally don't even know Nintendo Studios, right? If I were to say EPD 5, do you know what that would mean? Do you know what EPD 5 is? And it's not a particularly exciting name, but that's the studio behind Splatoon and Animal Crossing. That's like one of their biggest studios. There's a lot of power in a name, and I do wish they lent into that more. But we all know that that's not really going to change, and going into the Switch 2, I predict, like, next time we have a presentation dedicated to Switch 2 announcements, we're probably not going to get a single company logo from a Nintendo studio or a Nintendo collaboration IP that isn't Monolith Soft. I think they're the only exception, and I don't really get why. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I want to give you all a high five. But I'm not going to acknowledge you by name. I'm just going to say, hey, you, high five. See you next time. Bye.